Hey guys, Todd here with HobbyLink Japan, and I get to do kind of a special review for you guys today. Now this is a very rare chance for me, as usually reviewing lots of Gundam kits, you don't usually get two kits of like the same subject from two different manufacturers at the same time, and that's what I have here for you guys today. Now as you can see here, this is probably one of the most famous ships in existence. It's been featured in a number of movies with starring Leonardo DiCaprio, of course, is the main one that most people probably know about, but I think there's been a few others throughout the ages. But yes, it is none other than the RMS Royal Mail ship Titanic, which famously sunk in 1912. So April 1912, the ship famously, on its maiden voyage, it hit an iceberg as it was crossing the Atlantic going from England to the US of A, and yes, it did unfortunately hit that iceberg and sank in very freezing waters. And of course it didn't have enough lifeboats equipped onto the ship to be able to save everybody, so it was quite a disaster. Many people unfortunately died during that disaster. But yeah, very famous. We've had a number of model kits of this thing over the years, more traditional style model kits, but what we have here today, which is actually, this is really interesting, I feel, that two different manufacturers both had the idea that, hey, let's make a model kit of the Titanic, but not a standard type of model kit. Let's make a more super deformed, kind of cute, odd, squished style model kit of this ship. So, and both of these manufacturers are both based out of China. So on the right we have, this was the kit that came out just a few months ago. This is from Meng Model. This is their version of the Titanic, not the one showing right there in front of the camera, but the Meng Model kit is the one that is rotating around here to the right side now, so it's a bit smaller. And then the one we have on the left here, this is from a brand new manufacturer also out of China called Suyata. So I just reviewed the Fokker DR1 from Suyata, so they kind of came out with a bang with a couple of interesting subjects. Actually, both the DR1 and the Titanic, they're both around from the same time period, so that was kind of quite interesting. And there's two different version boxings of the Titanic from Suyata. I went ahead and I chose to build the port scene and vehicle version of this kit because I really was interested in that airship that they have on the box art there. And yes, we do get that molded in plastic, so it comes with this entire port scene kind of diorama kit as well, in addition to the Titanic kit, which was really quite interesting, but we'll take a look at that more in a bit. And also I've got a boxing of the second version, so we'll talk about that in a bit as well. So let's go ahead and let's get into doing more of a comparison, taking a look and talking about the two ships themselves. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with the Meng model kit here. So let me go ahead and grab it off of the turn wheel for a second there. Now as you can see, this Meng version of the Titanic is quite a bit smaller than the Suyata version there, so that was something interesting. I guess another thing to also mention about the Meng model kit is it's also being that it is a bit smaller, it's also quite a bit cheaper than the Suyata version. So the Suyata version with this port scene vehicle, and I think the Iceberg one as well. Actually, I don't remember the price of the port scene version, but I know the Iceberg version, I think it's about 3,400 yen for that version of the Suyata. But the Meng model kit, this thing is on our site. I think the retail price was only like 1,200 yen, so it's very affordable. This thing is quite cheap. Now you might be wondering also, maybe would this thing float? I mean, it's plastic, it's not made out of metal or any kind of heavy type of material, so I would imagine it might actually float if you were to put it in water. How well it would float, I could not answer that. I actually did not throw these things into water just to test, but yeah, plastic tends to float, I do believe, so yeah, it should be able to. But alright, so speaking about more of the kit itself, so like you would get with a Gundam kit, this kit is molded with parts in different colors. So you see all the different colors on this ship. I did not paint any of this. I did not do anything fancy. I just cut everything off the runners and built it exactly as it is, how you see it here. So the portholes on this version of this, on the Meng version of the kit, are actually closed. So if you would like to make them more open up, then you would actually have to take a drill bit and maybe use a drill bit to kind of open up some of these portholes, or use, maybe for the white parts at least, you could use like a Gundam marker and maybe darken those up a bit. But the upper deck portion here, this actually is kind of opened up there, so that looks quite nice. And you've got the anchors here on the front of the ship, as well as the 3 propellers on the back of the ship. And you can see I actually put a little piece of tape on here because for some reason, even though this turntable is not spinning fast at all, this Meng version of the kit kept wanting to like fly off of the base. So that was kind of interesting. So I put a little, just tiny bit of tape on there to keep it secure on there while it's rotating around. But yeah, other than that, you see the smokestacks on the top of the ship there. They look quite nicely detailed. You've got those, I don't know exactly what you would call those things, but like the fins over the top of the smokestacks there. Now, one really big difference between the Suyata version of this kit and the Meng version of the kit is the coloring for the deck. The upper part of the Meng kit is just completely 100% molded in white. So if you would like to have, you can kind of see it a little bit over there on the Meng, or on the Suyata, and we'll talk about that more in a bit. But if you would like to have more color for this upper deck, you will have to paint it yourself. So, but I mean, yeah, considering the price, the cost of this Meng version, you're actually getting a pretty good deal, I feel. And as far as construction went on this Meng version of the Titanic, it was really, between the two, this one was definitely a lot faster to put together, and I think I had it together in less than 20 minutes. It was just that simple. But you will need some tools. You will need some nippers or some kind of tool, knife or whatever, to be able to cut the parts off of the runners. So it's not something that you can just easily snap off. But I didn't have any real difficulties at all with constructing this Meng version of the Titanic. So let's go ahead and grab the Suyata version of this. So the Suyata, as you can tell, it is definitely quite a bit bigger than that Meng version of the kit. Not only is it quite a bit bigger than the Meng version, but the details on the Suyata version, they are really, really nice. And this is just like a super deformed type of kit, so it's really interesting to see this kind of level of detail on this kit, I felt. So as we talked about with the Meng kit, they had the portholes which were completely closed on that version of the ship, but on this one they are, and you can kind of see the reflection as light through some of these holes as I rotated around. But yeah, all the portholes are actually open on this kit, so it really gives it a nice kind of extra detail effect, I do feel. We've got an anchor that is molded in a different color than the hull, which I'm not actually sure if that is completely accurate for the ship or not. I did not research that beforehand, but that was something else to note. The propellers, of course, they are a little bit bigger than the Meng version there, and they do look a bit more crisper, I do have to say. So other than that, another thing to mention about the hull for this ship here, you see this white line here towards the bow of the ship. Now this is actually painted on. So this Suyata kit, just like the DR1, which I reviewed the other day, also has a number of parts that come pre-painted from the factory. So not only do we get parts that are pre-molded in different colors like we would for a Gundam kit, but we also get parts with pieces that are pre-painted as well. So that is something quite nice to see. And here on the stern of the ship, we've got this white line as is painted as well. So quite nice. Now, speaking about details, let me rotate this thing so you can get a peek at the top of this kit, and it is quite nice, I do have to say. So we don't have just one kind of solid piece of white like we did for the Meng kit there. This is actually molded in, not exactly 100% accurate for the color of the, I think it would be teak. I want to say the wood would be teak on this. I could be wrong. If somebody out there remembers exactly what wood they used for the deck of the Titanic, please post in the comments. But Yeah, the orange kind of more closely resembles at least what the wood color would have been for the deck of the ship. So the lifeboats are still molded in the white plastic, as well as a number of other details. And speaking of the details on this thing, this was really a nice feature I felt for this kit. So you see actually these little tiny brown rectangles here and there on the ship. They're actually benches where people would walk around. They would actually just sit down on some of these benches on the ship. And what Suyata did for this was the hole, they had this orange piece here for the wood piece, had these pre-cut holes for where these benches would be, and then there was orange plastic pieces which you would insert from the underside, and the benches would pop up through the holes on the deck, and that's how we're getting these different details on the deck. Same with these white pieces here in the center of the ship. There was another white runner that's there was holes for that, and then just this white runner connects from the underside of the deck and pops up, so you get those extra details there. So that was quite nice. Same for these black pieces here on the bow of the ship. So quite interesting. I felt really nicely detailed the top of the ship, quite a bit more so than the Meng kit, but I guess that is also to be expected considering you are paying a little bit more for this kit than you would for that Meng ship. But yeah, it looks really nicely detailed. I thought that was quite nice. So yeah, I really like the upper decks here. They have actually windows on the inside part of the upper deck as well, and it's a bit harder to see that through these holes, but inside of these holes there, the other part of the upper deck, there's actually windows on the inside of there as well. So that was something else that was quite nice. And yeah, so it's a really nicely detailed ship. I do feel if you're all interested in the Titanic and you maybe don't want to build like a more standard type of model kit of this ship, you might be wondering which of these two would be the best kit to sink your money into. And I guess the choice is really yours. Do you want something that is more simple and a bit cheaper? Then definitely you'll go for the Meng kit. But if you want that extra detail, and if you kind of like these extra scene pieces, then you will definitely want to go for the Suyata kit. If you want to have both, then nothing is stopping you from ordering both of these kits as well. So let's talk about the port scene that came here with this Suyata version of the kit. So I'm going to go ahead and remove both of these kits. Let's move them off to the side. Maybe I should put them in front of their respective manufacturers' boxes there. Put the Meng over here. And now let's take a look at the port scene, which came with the Suyata kit. So here we have the port scene there. Now, of course, this is more of like a fictional port scene. This is not something that you would actually have seen in New York or even in England in the year of 1912. We've got this fantasy looking kind of dirigible Zeppelin type of aircraft here, which actually has smokestacks on the top of it there. So this is quite interesting. You can see on the artwork here, there's actually smoke billowing out of the smokestacks on this airship. And it's kind of nice that it comes with this clear plastic piece here that connects to the back of the port scene, so it can actually be floating above the city, just like you see in the box art for this thing. And just like the Titanic as well, a number of these pieces here come pre-molded in different colors, which looks quite nice. Really interesting. And actually there is one more vehicle that came with this port scene here. I'm not exactly sure what the heck this would have been. It's like a miniature car with a stack of buildings on top of it. So apparently, here you can see it in the box art. Let me move the box art so you can get a better look at that. So yeah, this vehicle is also featured here in the box art. And let me go ahead and put this down on top of the scene once it rotates here. So I'm going to go ahead and put it there on the dock. So that was something else that was quite interesting. Now here you have this observatory on the side, on the top of one of these buildings here. But if you wanted, you can remove that observatory, and they give you this little miniature 1920s style Hollywood camera here with the actual film reel on the front of it there, and then you would be able to connect this camera here in place of that observatory thing there on the side of that building. So that was something that was quite interesting. And also for the Suyata kit, this kit does come with some water slide decals, just like that Fokker DR1 did. And these decals for this kit, they are actually not really intended to be used with the ship itself. The decals for this kit are mostly 100% for use with this port scene here. So let's take a look at the decals that came with the Suyata kit here. So these are going to be just different kind of like posters and whatnot where you can attach them on here. So we've got, this says Titanic, Suyata there. We've got Carmen with some nice red lips. We've got a arrow. Museum Suyata. So of course this is from the maker Suyata, so they're just going crazy with their own name here. And we also have Cinema Today, and this is kind of interesting because you see this guy here. If you watch the review for that Suyata Fokker DR1, you might actually recognize that yes, actually this image here is the same image that they had for the Red Baron, the Manfred von Richthofen figure that came included with that DR1 kit. So that was something else that was quite interesting. Of course, Manfred von Richthofen would this sank in 1912, so yeah, he would have still been alive actually in 1912. Of course, back in those days, before the First World War started, he would not have been famous enough to have been featured on any kind of poster, but this is a fantasy, of course. You're not going to have steamship flying dirigibles going around. But yeah, that's steamships. Speaking of steamships, steampunk, that was a word that I wanted to mention as well. So this Titanic port scene is actually really steampunkish, which is kind of cool. I like the whole steampunk type of vibe, and definitely this fits into that steampunk type of vibe. Also, actually speaking, on that decal sheet there was one at the bottom that just mentioned Titanic, and that is to be included with this display base here, which also is included with the Suyata kit. So you would be able to take your Titanic. If you don't want to display it with that port scene, then you can just have it displayed by itself here on this display base, and that would look quite cool as well. So it also comes with a nice display base, this Suyata kit. Alright, so let's see what else I'm forgetting. Oh, I know what I'm forgetting. Let's talk about the manuals here. There's actually two things that I need to mention before wrapping up this video here. So we've got the instruction manual for the Meng version of this kit, and as you can see, this manual for the Meng kit is also printed in color, which is quite nice. And the entire thing is a total of 6 pages. That's it. That's all you have to do. The instructions for the ship itself only takes up page 3, 4, and 5, and yes, you are done. So really quite a simple build for this Meng version of the kit. Now the Suyata version instruction manual, let me go ahead and move this scene off of here so I don't knock it over. I'm losing parts from my little car there. Oh no! So the instruction manual for the Suyata version of this kit is really nice. I love the texture that they used for this, the front cover of this, and it's staple bound in the center, so it's more kind of a book style thing, and it's got really nice artwork there. You've got artwork for that port scene, and of course the inside for this manual also is printed in color, and it's this nice kind of glossy type finish for the printing of this kit. So that is quite cool, and you got little seal artwork there, and I think in Chinese he's saying please read the instructions, so you better do that. So yeah, you can just take a look. So lots of pieces all printed in color, and it doesn't have page numbers, but it's not terribly too long, but definitely much longer than the Meng model instruction manual was. Oh, here we can see kind of where you're supposed to maybe put some of the decals for this scene base here. So you got little Zeppelin instructions there, and that's quite cool. And here we've got an advertisement. There's the DR1, which I just reviewed the other day with the Red Baron figure. And we've got the other boxing for this kit, which is the Titanic, and it comes with the seal and iceberg scene. So let me go ahead and grab that box, because I've got one of those here. And let's crack it open and take a look. Let me go ahead. Actually, I think turn that off for a second there. So here we have the seal and iceberg scene boxing of this kit. We got these really cute looking seals there, and yes, it actually does come with the seals. Now this is another interesting thing I saw on the side of this box. Apparently they gave names for all of the seals. We've got Jack, we've got Mom, we've got Dad, we've got, of course, we've got Leo and Rose. So yes, big fans of the movie, I guess, here at Suyata. And even the iceberg got a name. I think it says Big Ice. Okay, so yeah, Big Ice. Big Ice has a name. Let's take a look. Let's find Big Ice. So let's go ahead and crack open this box here. And here we can see we've got, actually, maybe, give me 1 second. I'm going to remove them from the plastic bags. So here, let's take a look at the first runner here, which would be the L runner. And this is the runner that's going to have our adorably cute little plastic seals on there. So they are quite interesting. So they all have the names. We got Mom, Dad, we got Leo, we got Rose. I don't remember the names for the rest of them, but yeah, they're really nicely molded there. They've got really cute looking faces. Of course, when the actual real Titanic sank, I don't think there was probably cute little seals sitting on that iceberg watching the poor ship go down, but it is what it is. And here we've got the runner with the icebergs on there. We got Big Ice, and we got a display base, I guess, where Big Ice is going to sit on top of. So that is something else that is quite interesting. So if you're not too interested in the port scene version of this kit, then you might actually be more interested in buying the seal and iceberg scene version of the Suyata kit. So that is pretty much going to wrap it up then for this dual review of the Suyata Titanic, in addition to the Meng version of the super deformed Titanic. So it was really interesting, really kind of fun for me to be able to have a chance to do a dual review here. Don't get this chance very often, two of the same style of kits from two different manufacturers. It's very interesting to see how both of the manufacturers tackled the same subject, and of course there's different costs involved with the different versions, whichever one you would like to build or buy. If you want to go cheaper, then there is the Meng version of the kit, which is yeah, it's smaller, but it still looks quite cute. Everybody's going to definitely recognize this if it was to sit on your desk at work or like on a shelf at home. Or if you want to go a bit more expensive and get some of these cool action bases, either the ice one or the port scene, and you want a bit more of a detailed version of the Titanic, then definitely check out the Suyata version of this kit as well. So there you guys have it. Thank you very much for watching this review of the Suyata and Meng Titanic kits, and we'll be back soon with more reviews and more videos.